Lesson 11. I'm Shane Stanford.
And I'm Anthony Thaxton. And, we've been doing a lot of these pictures and these insights and framing up these stories. Thomas is, we're getting down here toward the end, 1 week after this, but Thomas, seeing is believing.
And I think this is another one of those moments when, for those who don't know their Bible enough, they miss what is the real deal happening here, because Thomas, gets the burden throughout history. I mean, even doubting Thomas, we got a phrase for it. And he says, I'm not going to believe unless, I can touch the wounds, unless I can pierce or stick my hand where the piercing was. And I know that for many people, we see this as such a brokenness in terms of Thomas. And Jesus does say, you know what, Thomas, here, touch the wounds, and blessed are you for being able to do that. But even more blessed are going to be those who will believe and not seen and have not had to do that. Because Thomas is just one of those folks. But earlier on, we read in the story of Lazarus where Thomas is he's just a Debbie Downer. I mean, the man is a negative Nelly. I mean, he says, when Jesus is waiting and then decides to go back to see the family after they've heard that Lazarus has died, they're scared because that part of the country, they had gotten basically almost stoned, death threats. And Thomas says, well, let's go with him. Although we're going to die, let's go with him.
Oh, Eeyore.
Yeah, it is. It is very much an Eeyore situation. And Thomas is just one of those folks who, he's going to be committed. You're not going to have to count on Thomas. But Thomas is not going to be the leader in the room. He's going to be one of the great workers. He's going to do the job. But for him, seeing is believing. He has to go a little bit more than the normal case. But Anthony, I've said many times, they call it faith for a reason. It's not called certainty. It's called faith because there are just a lot of things we won't see. There's just a lot of things we're not going to experience. And part of what we want you to see in this chapter, in this lesson is, seeing is believing. We hear that in our society, but many times believing is seeing. Having faith to know that the God that you are following, though you don't know all of the edges and all of the corners, you don't know where the road leads, but you've seen the impact of what it means to trust God. And that's the thing that I wish for Thomas and his story. I've often thought in my mind, if you could just whisper in his ear and go, it's the real thing, Thomas.
Right.
And Thomas, with all his gifts and strength and boldness, would have been able to just, say, okay, let's go. What do we got to do?
Well, and I also think that there was an idea that maybe the body was stolen after the resurrection, and maybe there's I want to be for certain so that when I'm out there risking my life telling others about this, I want to be able to look them in the eye and be authentic. And I think there are a lot of ways to kind of look. I think there are a lot of aspects to this, but as you said. Seeing sometimes the faith is, even if you can see a little distance. One of my mentors, Dr. Sam Gore from Mississippi College, an art mentor, wonderful man. I remember driving with him to do a sculpture presentation, and he said, I was filled with this college angst about my life and the direction, and I don't see clearly enough. And he said, Anthony, he said, how far do these headlights shine? Do they shine all the way back to Jackson? I said, no, sir. He said, they just shine far enough where we can see right in front of us. And we don't overrun and drive too fast. It's just enough. And eventually, but we have faith that down the road we'll get to our destination. And I think that's a powerful thing here with Thomas, is that, yes, we can get so anxious on what we don't see, when Jesus is clearly showing us enough right ahead of us to where we can be sure of our journey.
Well, and that is a gift that Jesus gives to us. I think we miss many times that if you could know how something ended, if you could know what the story of your life would turn out to be, I can't imagine some of the fears and mistakes we would make in order of trying to make it make sense or do the right things or whatever. Jesus, I love that image, giving Thomas, saying, hey, I'm going to give you the whole, the whole answer, But for those who will only have a little bit to see, only have enough of the headlights, and will believe anyway that where they're going makes a difference.
And that's Jesus speaking to us all down. And that's what I love, the verses like that are speaking. Blessed are those in the future, like Shane, like Anthony, like those of you watching and participating in this. Blessed are you that are believing when you haven't touched the nail prints.
And so if you're in a situation, if you're a leader, for instance, there's so much that you cannot know for sure, but you can establish the principles, you can establish the dynamics, you can establish everything. All you can do is what you can do, and do it to the best of your ability, and then trust that God is going to lead you over those next few steps. I tell people all the time that one of my sayings that became a book, Anthony, was you can't do everything but do something.
We said that all the time at our house.
And the thing is that there's a something for all of us, and we do have this need, I think, to do everything, to be everything to everyone sometimes, and you just can't do it.
Well, and one thing I don't want us to miss in this is also the fact that that Jesus did come to Thomas and say, all right, you don't believe? Here, I'm going to allow you.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But he comes back, comes through the wall, the locked door, and appears, but Thomas isn't there.
Yes.
So Thomas even has to hear this secondhand.
Yes.
You're telling me he came back, he appeared to you, and I didn't see it. Well, Thomas perhaps had secluded himself away. Here I am suffering by myself over here. But the second time, Jesus came back, I believe, specifically for Thomas. Comes through the whole, coming through the wall, the locked door thing again, and immediately turns to Thomas and says, hey,
how you
here
doing?
you've been guessing questions. And what a beautiful thing that Jesus, he still comes through locked doors. He comes through those barricades we've put up. He comes through those places where we think, all right, there's danger, we're hiding away. Jesus still finds a way in and says, touch and believe.
Wow. I mean, Anthony, I've made such a mess of some things in my life because I needed to know for sure.
Yeah.
And that's just not the way the world works. And the one thing I do know for sure that I can share with you is that Jesus Christ loves you. He died on the cross for you. And that as we make him the Lord of our life, he has our life in his hands. And he is going to be faithful. So
pray
for us. Okay, all right. Lord, this one is personal because there's so many times that I've faced fears and uncertainties, Lord, that I wish that I could just know a little bit more, that I could go a little bit further than the horizon. But God, that's not the way faith works. They call it faith for a reason. So give us strength, Lord, to believe and to follow. You tell us we have to deny ourselves, we have to take up a cross and follow you. The denying ourselves, the things we know, the certainties, all of those safety nets, Lord, to be able to let those go and follow you, what a blessing that is in the end. And that's what I pray for those who are doing this study and for those who are reading this book, is that they will get to a place where they will simply be able to trust you and to follow. We love you, Jesus, and we thank you. And it's in your name we pray.